It's the heaviest moving object in your home. Every year, children die under this door. For years, this door came down, without seeing. A garage door, the largest moving object in most homes, should not be able to crush a child. In the 1980s, hospitals proved the industry's safety test meant nothing for soft bodies. The fix was simple, a $15 infrared beam invented by Colin Willmott, who gave it away. But for 13 years, nothing changed. By the time the law caught up, 85 children were dead. How does an answer that easy wait so long? A garage door weighs more than a refrigerator. In the 1980s, the only safety test required was the block test. Inspectors would place a 2-inch piece of wood on the floor. If the door reversed direction after hitting the block, it passed. That was the standard. But a child's chest isn't made of wood. At Hennepin County Medical Center, doctors and engineers tried something different. They placed a child-sized CPR mannequin under the door. The result was crushing. Only about 4 out of 10 doors reversed when pressing on the mannequin. Most kept closing, pinning the soft torso down. The cause of death was always the same, compressional asphyxia. The test that promised safety had a fatal blind spot. Every time a door passed the block test, parents thought their children were protected. They weren't. The gap between a block of wood and a child's body was wide enough for tragedy to slip through. Colin Willmott spent nearly 6 decades at Chamberlain, tinkering, testing, and sometimes shaking his head at how simple the answer could be. In 1980, he built a tiny circuit that used a 930 nanometer infrared beam, a wavelength just beyond what our eyes can see. One emitter, one photodiode, a handful of cheap parts on a single circuit board. When the beam was broken, the door would stop and reverse in less than a blink. The whole thing could be built for about $15, less than the price of a family takeout meal. Willmott gave the design away. No patent, no royalties. He wanted every manufacturer to use it right away. He once joked that the hardest part was getting the beam to work in the Chicago winter. For years, his fix sat ready while the death toll grew. Each time a child was pinned beneath a door without that invisible beam, the cost of waiting grew heavier. By the summer of 1989, the Consumer Product Safety Commission had counted 43 children lost to garage doors since tracking began. Each number stood for a family changed forever. On October 5, 1988, 2 more names joined the list. Megan Henson, age 4, Samuel Dean, age 5. They lived in the Minneapolis and St. Paul area. They were playing near home on an ordinary afternoon. They were trapped beneath heavy garage doors that met every safety rule on the books. There was no warning, no time to cry out. The doors closed, and the world for 2 families stopped. Their deaths were not the first, and they would not be the last. That day, the story broke across Minnesota. Headlines asked why a fix costing $15 had not become standard. 43 children, then 45. Each year, the count rose. Each year, the sensor sat on the shelf, unused. 8 in favor, 4 against. That's how the committee of major garage door manufacturers split when the question finally came. Should every new opener in America be required to see a child before it closed? The vote didn't happen in a vacuum. By then, families across the country were reading news stories about children crushed in their own driveways. The industry had spent years debating costs and reliability, but the decision was no longer abstract. Representative Jerry Sikorsky, a father from Minnesota, stood on the House floor in 1990 and read the names of the lost. He pressed the case for a national rule. The Consumer Product Safety Improvement Act passed, and with it, a deadline. Starting January 1, 1993, every new residential garage door opener sold in the United States would need an external infrared sensor. Willmott's $15 fix, finally written into law. The arguments were over. The mandate was real. For the first time, the smallest children would be seen. After the law took effect in 1993, the numbers changed almost overnight. More than 95% of child deaths from garage doors simply stopped. For most families, the danger faded into the past. but millions of older openers stayed in use, untouched by the new rule. In 2009, a 6-year-old boy named Dijon Sanders was killed in Chicago by a door installed before the mandate, its sensor missing and its safety promise broken. Chamberlain had already stopped supporting those legacy units the year before, offering a $100 trade-in to anyone willing to replace them. The risk never fully disappeared. It just grew quieter, waiting in the garages that time forgot. Colin Willmott never tried to make himself the hero. He spoke softly about the sensor, but when the topic turned to the children, his voice would falter. He admitted that he tended to get choked up about it, pausing to steady himself. The numbers haunted him. Every life lost was a life he had counted. If this story mattered to you, follow along, because it still matters to him. A $15 beam stops a 200-pound door. It cannot undo lost years or lost children. Today, millions of old openers remain. Safety is possible. The choice is still ours.